The energy we are consuming for transportation is very significant. It represents 32% of the total final energy demand. The big challenge on transport is that it highly depends on fossil fuel, and renewable energy only represents 3.7%. As a result, the carbon footprint of transportation is significant. It represents 21% of the CO2 emissions globally, and road transport represents 15%. This clearly means that we need to reduce the energy demand for transportation, for instance by walking, cycling, public transportation, rail, etc. But it also means that the residual energy we are consuming needs to be covered by renewable energy. Now the question is this feasible? Yes, it is feasible, because there is clearly a trend on electrification, and renewable electricity today is a least cost option. So this is technologically feasible, it's economically feasible, and it has many environmental, social values. So very clearly there is one global one, which is reduce CO2 emissions, but also building climate resilient infrastructure for energy and transportation. This seems to be the obvious one. What is really interesting is that there is a clear local benefit and economic benefit also to move to renewable energy. Local benefit in terms of reduced air pollution, because very clearly internal combustion engines are responsible for local pollution because they are fossil fuel based, and moving to electric mobility and renewable based e-mobility will reduce the local air pollution impacts. There is the other part, and especially in the current energy crisis, we see that renewable electricity and renewable energy can provide a secure and a sovereign fuel that is being used in transportation. Since in transport, the energy costs represent the second cost part, moving to the least cost option, which is also a stable cost, is something which clearly creates economic benefits for fleet operators, and these can be clearly also redistributed to users. The importance of an international gathering like the Global Mobility Call on Sustainable Mobility, but also the International Renewable Energy Conference, for instance, is to bring the different stakeholders around the table who need to be part of the discussions to drive basically those deep structural changes, whether it is the mobility transition or the energy transition. Ultimately, it is about societal choices. So you need governments, you need the private sector, you need the civil society to be part of this, to identify opportunities for strong and deep collaboration, creating business models, joint action, and really accelerate the transitions. I think what is really interesting about the Global Mobility Call, it's happening at the same time as Geneva in Madrid. And this is really also an opportunity to bring basically the international community from the mobility transition and the international community from the energy transition together, because one thing is clear: the transition to decarbonized transportation will not happen without an energy transition, and the energy transition won't happen without a transport transition.